Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of About Skateboarding. Now, if you're new here, again, my name is Sean, and I do daily videos about the entire world of skateboarding, everything involved with it across all the spectrums, just as a more fun thing to discuss and talk about with you guys. If you're new here as well, then again, this is a reminder you can also stream everything as far as the audio episodes over on both Spotify and over on Apple Podcasts as well, in their full length versions as well. Now, today is going to be one of the subjects that people don't really want to talk about really that much because it's one of the hardest parts about the sport of skateboarding, but it is still incredibly relevant. It will occur to you if you're starting to skate at all, and it's why, to me, I feel like skateboarding is one of the more gnarlier activities, not even sport, but activities that you can do as a human being, just because it's almost like the odds are almost like more stacked against people as humans, like for trying to do the, in some cases, insanely like acrobatics that we do on a skateboard. And this is going to be again for the subject of getting hurt or getting injured while skateboarding. Now, no matter what level you're at, whether you are brand new to the just starting to ride a board and learning how to balance on a skateboard, all the way up to doing absolutely insane professional skating across, touring the world and being sponsored in skating contests and all that kind of fun stuff. No matter what, it's always about the same thing, I would say, as far as the injuries can obviously be very, very bad. But they can also, it's more about, in my experience as a skater and in my life of what I've been hurt from, which is not that bad, honestly, from what I've been through, but it's more almost about the mental game or the mental aspect of after you get injured and even like the rehab process and coming back from an injury from skateboarding. Is because for me, that was one of the harder parts about my biggest injury that I've ever had. So for me, just to give you my small story. So when I was about 13 or 14 years old, I was learning how to drop in switch at a skate park that I lived nearby that I went to almost every single day at the time. And part of the fun of skateboarding, for me at least, is the adversity you go through mentally again as well, with trying to, depending on how you learn everything for skating and the tricks that you do, if you do the tricks themselves, is to get over or like get through the adversity process of just trying to even try a new trick. And for some people, it can be very, very not only intimidating, scary, and just getting through the process of even trying to even like just as simple as dropping in. And for me, that was what this process was like for this trick specifically, because again, I was on a quarter pipe kind of thing. It wasn't too high up, maybe like a 6 or a 7 foot quarter pipe when I was a teenager, and I really wanted to learn how to again drop and switch for the sheer ability to be able to come up, because I ride goofy, and so like I wanted to be able to come up on a quarter pipe, do anything like as far as like a 50-50 stall or whatever, just any kind of trick really, just to stall on it and come back and switch and have it be more fluid and not have to do a turnaround, like a 180 out of it or pivot out of it, just to kind of get and then to be able to efficiently ride out of anything on a quarter pipe. That was the goal for me at that time. So my goal for when I was trying to learn it was just to try and learn how to drop and switch as a first step, and then kind of go from there and ease myself into it. Because again, some skaters, and we all learn differently. We all approach adversity of learning new things differently. So there's not really in any way a set way of doing this, of learning new stuff. So I'm not here to tell you how to learn it and how to process it. I'm just here to let you know that there is times where you're going to get hurt and all that, and it's just part of the whole entire experience of skateboarding. Again, whether you are brand new to it and you're just starting, again, all the way up to the professional level, where it gets a little bit sometimes more serious for injuries too. But again, I think the physical part is nowhere near, in most cases I should say, is nowhere near as hard as the mental part of it, because that the mental part of skateboarding injuries is really what can prevent you from getting over yourself when you get healthy again and continue on your journey of a skateboarder. And so for me, when I was trying to learn switch, my brain couldn't get over the idea or the thought of trying to go just to put my weight down the opposite direction. Like mentally, I just couldn't do it the first few tries. So I think I just stood on top of the quarter pipe for like probably a good 5-10 minutes, and at a busy skate park, that's a bad idea. So don't do that. That was the one thing I regret now to this day, as far as looking back to my experience of starting to do it. So I would definitely don't recommend doing that. Like, if you're gonna commit, you gotta commit, and that's one thing too, is that for learning new tricks and experiencing new tricks and developing them on your own, or just even with someone that's helping you, I would say if you know someone that is knowingly or obviously a lot better than you are, not necessarily older than you are, but a lot better than you are talent wise, and they already know the trick and they've been doing it for any amount of time more than you have, then part of skateboarding as a community, at least in my opinion, is you can ask for help. Any skateboarder that is a decent human being, that is, in it for the right reasons, I'll put it that way, they will hopefully be open to helping you out if you ask them nicely and you show some respect towards them. And by I saw you just ask them if they know the trick, and if they be willing to help you, give you some tips and tricks on it and how to learn the beginnings of the process of it. And in most cases, most skateboarders will gladly help out, because you are showing them a sign of respect, of acknowledgement that they are good, which we all like to hear that, obviously, with skateboarding especially. And then they will be most likely willing to help you out with learning it. And again, and it can always blossom from there into even other areas too. So I'd say first and foremost, if you know someone that is good at skateboarding or is good at the trick that you're trying to learn and master, then ask for help if you can, because it's really going to be helpful just down the road, just having that ability to do that. But if you're learning on your own, like I was for the most part, or if you're too timid like I was to even ask for help with it, then if you can watch skate videos too for that too. Like, so there's a lot more, way more out there now, especially on YouTube. As far as like learning how to do new tricks from like a step-by-step process, if you just want to see it like broken down, like some people, their learning process is really just helped out when they see like a video of a step-by-step like slow motion instruction guide, which didn't exist when I was that age, which I'm jealous of sort of now. But I also feel like learning by trial by fire, if it's falling in some cases, can help too in a weird way. So it kind of goes either way on that one. But again, I stood on top of the quarter pipe for about probably like 4 or 5 minutes and just didn't even do anything. I was afraid and timid and nervous too, and then mentally I couldn't like mentally process the idea of putting my weight the opposite direction of a drop in. And the funny thing about learning a new trick, especially on a ramp like that, is that once you get it even once or twice, your comfort level and your confidence level immediately, for the most part, shoots up, and it just elevates you emotionally, and it elevates your euphoria, it elevates every part of you as far as your just confidence to do more and more and more. Now, that's not to say that you're not going to fall on it later on down the road, because again, we all do that. Like, we can be masters of tricks and still fall on them no matter where we are. It's just the fun part about the skateboarding experience, for the journey of it all. But that was my process for that day. Was I could not for the life of me get over the mental part of putting my weight the opposite direction at that point in time. So what I did was I actually put to fall, essentially, because I got pretty hurt, and I'll explain what happened. But like, basically I went for the drop in, and then because my brain would not let me do the entire drop in part of the weight distribution of going from my right to my left foot in, because when you drop in on a quarter pipe, if you've never done it before, you're essentially throwing not all your weight, but like 80% of your body weight onto your front foot from the back foot, to then put your weight into the drop in part of it and then roll away, usually smoothly in most cases on ramps. Because once you commit to it, which you have to commit, that's the other thing I'm going to say too, is that learning new things, sometimes you have to commit when you're not wanting to, and that's a whole nother conversation too. But if you don't commit to it, sometimes you can get almost even more hurt, or have more agileness to be hurt than if you just kind of jump off of it or just bail out. So the next thing I want to advise on too is that sometimes the biggest anxiety thing of learning a new trick is that you have to commit when you don't want to. And and that can be there's an infinite amount of things that can come into play. For me, the biggest parts I would say from my own experience, and things that I've seen people experience on like watching skate videos of where they go through the process of, you can see all the bails essentially, is that it happens a lot when you're riding up to a rail, for one thing, or riding up to a staircase, like a set of stairs, for like a gap, or anything like that. Any kind of area like that is where you might be nervous, but you have to, like, either you commit and you just jump over the whole thing and bail out halfway through, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, to get the idea, like, you, like, sometimes not committing can get you more hurt skating on a new trick or like a new experience area, a level that you've never done before, whether it's a bigger set of stairs that you're not used to for that amount of stairs or whatever the case is. It doesn't really matter. It's just sometimes not committing is worse than anything else as well. So that's one of my biggest pieces of advice for trying to avoid an injury, honestly, or avoid getting hurt, is to, especially on those bigger tricks that you're trying to jump through a hoop for to get, to try and commit in general, is that you got to commit to it even when you don't want to. And that's a scary thing too by itself. But for me, again, back to my trick for the quarter pipe, I did not put the weight down fully, or the majority of my weight down on my left foot. So what I did was I pretty much went halfway into the commitment on it, again, commitment, and then I literally went down on the quarter pipe and just my board fell into the ramp like it normally would from just having the weight be gone essentially. And then my left foot, which was my front foot, landed on the front of the board by itself, and then it kicked out. And because of how my body was reacting to a fall, I put my right arm down on the ramp essentially, and then it ended up snapping up my elbow past where it should have gone. And I broke my elbow. So like right here, you can't see it on the camera probably, but right here, this part went up essentially, and it snapped up basically. So that it was a very shocking. It hurt for sure, but it was more of a shock that hurt worse than anything else. And then I ended up and I fell. I couldn't get up, and again they called an ambulance to the skate park I was at. Luckily, it wasn't anywhere crazy. And then I got pulled over I got taken to hospital, and I ended up having, because the end of my elbow got basically broken off or chipped off from my arm essentially. I don't know what bone it was. I forget what bone it was, but I went into surgery. They had to reattach the piece that kind of broke off from like me snapping my arm up essentially, and they put it back on there and put 2 screws in it, and I've had my elbow be that way ever since. So in my case, what I learned from that to this day is that it goes back to that commitment, not rule, but commitment mentality. Is that sometimes especially for skateboarding, for sure, that you need to commit if you're going to commit. If you don't, then just try and bail out as far away as you can. Because sometimes, and a lot of skateboarders will tell you this, that have more experience than I do, even for sure. But a lot of times the board itself can be the biggest item of, the biggest thing in your way when you bail out. And if you want, and the best example I can give you of this is that if you ever watch, like on YouTube, for example, there is Thrasher does them a lot. They have a concept or a segment called My War, and it's basically a show, and it highlights a bunch of different skaters that are trying one trick usually, but they show the entire journey, the entire experience of the skater, of all the bails that they go through, and they kind of have it's kind of like a mini story essentially, because they have people that went with the skater to video it or photograph it, and they have them essentially explain what happened that day, and then just kind of this is the overall experience of how many bails it took and how just what it was like, and most of the time the biggest thing that prevents the person from skating from landing it is just the commitment is either not enough or not fully there. And then also it's also just a major factor of the board getting in the way a lot of times too, or just like it flies off the right, they spit out, whatever it might be. So the biggest advice I can give you if you're new to skating or new to learning tricks that you think are above your experience level is that I think that, again, commitment is huge. You have to commit, or at least try to, because it's a lot easier, I would say, to at least give your full commitment to the trick and then be in the trick, like doing the trick, like whether it's a grind or a flip trick, and then you know that you won't get it for whatever reason, and you can kick the board out or jump off of it. That is way, way better and easier on your body for sure, in most cases, not every case, but in most cases, than not committing fully and then either falling into a rail or falling off or whatever it might be, because that can hurt way, way worse than just trying to bail out of a trick too. So there's also ways that you can bail out on tricks and fall that are better for your body. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, and so don't take this as a way to to fully not get hurt. But from all the videos I've seen of people skateboarding and having some pretty big bails and explaining how they got out of it, even from my own experience, that if you try and roll, if you have a big fall, like let's say that you're falling down a set of stairs and you bail out on a trick, whatever it might be, you're actually better off, in my experience, from landing on your feet and then rolling through it and then trying to get up out of it, rather than putting the shock of the entire jump that you just did off of how many stairs it might be or over whatever it is, and trying to put and having to put the shock of all that weight and air and kind of like weightlessness down to your feet and then just falling. That's actually way worse for you, in my experience, than rolling through it. Because if you can like land on your feet and then roll, like just like not fall down, but fall over and roll through it, that's a lot less shock initially than your body than what the other option would be. And that's also very, very helpful sometimes because if you're going to do, like, I'll put it this way, if you're doing like a trick that is a bigger trick and it's going to take you upwards of 20, 30, 40 attempts, after a long time, that will definitely get to your body, no matter what your age is. And it'll kind of just get to a point where you're exhausted and you're not even like doing the trick anymore. You're just trying not to bail anymore. So the biggest thing I can give you guys for my own knowledge from experience of just falling over and just how I did it for many, many years is that if you for sure know you're going to fall, try and roll out of it if you can. Wear pads if you want to. There's nothing wrong with wearing pads. I mean, safety is always a good thing. Safety is first. I know that's not like the cool thing to say, but it's really honest. Like, if you know you're going to be falling a lot on a trick and you just want to just not get hurt a little bit less, then you can wear pads. Go for it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, vert skaters swear by it because you should be wearing pads if you're a vert skater, but I don't see anything wrong with wearing pads if you're just really, really nervous about getting hurt really badly. So for sure, like, safety is always a good thing for that, especially with wearing pads. But again, like, there's appropriate ways of falling that can help you out with not taking as much of the force of the fall than if you just fell and just fell down, because that, in most cases, in my experience, and when I watch skateboarding videos too, is what gets people really hurt way more, or what takes the most energy out of their body is by falling the wrong way and not trying to roll out of it or like roll through it, and just like having their entire body rather than just their feet or one body part take all the weights or all the force, essentially. So again, this is all my experience. You can take it for whatever it's worth as far as words of advice. But again, the biggest thing I can stress out for you guys as far as like words of advice for injury, because if you skateboard at all, no matter what you're doing, you are eventually going to fall. It just happens. Whether you hit a rock when you're riding 20 miles an hour and you get thrown 20 feet, I've been there. It hurts. You're going to get scabs. You're going to get hurt. Sometimes you're going to get scrapes. And just be careful. Be aware of others. Be respectful to others on the street too. And recognize that you're going to fall. And don't be mad about it. Just try not to get angry. I mean, you can, obviously, because we all handle that differently too. But again, there's ways of falling that will lessen your amount of force to get hurt as much. And just remember, because again, the mental game is half of this, especially if you're rehabbing an injury that took you out for a while. That skateboarding is an absolute journey, and it is it's more of a one-on-one mental game too, on getting yourself through it. And another big piece of advice I can give is that to never let an injury take you out. Because that is one of the worst things about skateboarding that can happen, is that you can get injured and be out for a couple of years in some cases. But don't ever let an injury take you out and take away your love for skateboarding, because it can do that for sure. Just try not to let it do that. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoyed this content, then definitely subscribe for more skateboarding videos. Thanks for watching again. Thanks for listening as always, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.